Lent is the season of the year that leads us up towards Easter. And just as Advent is those 4 weeks that lead us to Christmas, Lent is the 40 days that lead us up to the celebration of the death and the resurrection of Jesus. I said in the fall that our Christmas celebrations were going to be quite different, and they were. And we modified plans several times as further restrictions were added to us. At this point in time, we have no idea what we're going to be allowed to do for Easter, but we're planning for a number of different options. We want to prepare our hearts and our minds to celebrate and to mark this very significant part of the church calendar. It's easy to celebrate Christmas. That's why our culture places so much emphasis on it. It's easy to celebrate the birth of babies, though I confess that at this time, Janice and I are struggling a little bit and missing the opportunity to hold and snuggle our 4-month-old Arthur and our other grandchildren as well. But Lent and Easter is harder to celebrate. We recognize the cross is vital, but it's not the final. It's not the absolute final thing that Jesus came to do. It's harder to celebrate that. And because of that, we have trouble and at times even celebrating the resurrection. So over the season of Lent, beginning on February 17th, in many church traditions, this is known as Ash Wednesday, we're going to be looking at a number of everyday, ordinary objects that help us take this journey towards Easter. Actually, let me suggest we start the day before on Shrove Tuesday, Pancake Tuesday. Shrove is an old English word which means to confess one's sins and receive absolution for them. And pancakes became associated with that day because it was a way to use up rich foods like eggs and sugar and milk, as many church traditions entered into a season of fasting during Lent. I encourage you to join me on Wednesdays, either at 1:30 in the afternoon or 6:45 in the evening for a short opportunity to connect online. I want to share a brief 5 to 7 minute reflection on one of these objects. I'll give you an opportunity just to share as well. You can go to occweb.org or to our OCC Web Facebook page and get a list of the 10 items and get the link for the connection time. So we're going to begin with dust on Ash Wednesday, and then bread, cross, coins, shoes, oil. And then as we approach the final week, we'll have coats on Palm Sunday, towels on Maundy Thursday, nails on Good Friday, and stones on Easter Sunday. Let me encourage you to hold those particular objects as we meet. There's something that's very tactile about hanging on to an object that helps us enter into the meaning a little bit more. So you've got a couple of days to collect some dust or sawdust or ash from the fireplace. So you have my permission not to dust the house until Wednesday. On Monday, Thursday, April the 1st, we're going to share together online in the Lord's Supper. And so we'll give more details as that date approaches. There's some other things in the works that aren't finalized yet. We plan on having a Good Friday service, so whether that's going to be in person or online, we don't know at this point. And we're also thinking through some options in terms of how we can celebrate Easter Sunday. And we'll keep you informed and let you know as restrictions are lifted and opportunities arise. There's also going to be some online activities that will help us move into the story of Easter. God works in many ways, and sometimes it's the dramatic. In the Old Testament, I think of burning bushes or talking donkeys or a booming voice from heaven. But often it's the ordinary, the everyday things that God uses to communicate his love and his care for us. People of faith have often told stories of epiphanies, sometimes by way of inexplicable happenings or a letter from a friend that arrives at just the right moments. Sometimes it's a dream. It's the ordinary, the mundane, a chance encounter with somebody, a sudden vista that when you're out on a walk, or a sudden appearance of a rainbow. The question is, do we have eyes to see God's presence? Do we have ears to hear what he is saying? Will we open ourselves up to the holy, not only in heaven, but right here and now? Can everyday objects remind us to stay awake and pay attention? I hope and pray that these weeks of Lent and these everyday, these ordinary objects will draw us into the journey of following Jesus and open ourselves up to the work of God's Spirit in our lives. Each week, as we consider an object or highlight an object, I'll ask us to consider the promise and the possibility that God is present, speaking and seeking relationship with us. I hope and pray that these weeks of Lent will open our ears and our eyes to the reality of God's presence, letting him lower our anxieties about the future, lessening our burdens about the past, and free us to follow Jesus in the here and in the now. I trust and pray that these weeks of Lent will help us to see that Emmanuel, God with us, will never leave us or abandon us. And maybe when you hold these various objects in your hands, you'll remember that God loves and God leads. He transforms and he heals. He guides and he intervenes in ways that are real, in ways that are fresh, in ways that bring abundant life. A life that calls us out of worry and calls us into sharing with others. I hope and pray that in reflecting on and examining and contemplating these objects, our eyes will be open to see God everywhere, in all things, in all creation, not just during these 40 days of Lent, but every single day of the year, sharpening our sense of the holy to the point where we are aware of God's presence in every single moment and act accordingly. I trust that you'll be able to join me on this journey.